Okay. Our first challenge that a chapter is facing includes the following. So, a chapter's partnership team feels confident in their relationship status with their partner. Every week during general body meetings, the director of partnerships shares with the group recent project developments, partner community news, and overall, the chapter feels confident that their partnership is strong. However, during a partnership facilitation call, so this is when the partner talks with a chapter coach or someone from headquarters, the partner states that their relationship isn't as strong as they would like, and that instead they would like more time for relationship building between students and the partner, as opposed to just project updates. So, based on the scenario, I would love to know what the main issues this partnership faces based on like your perspective of how it's framed. And then how would you suggest addressing the challenge?
It seems like there's not a lot of communication and like they have different expectations and like different views on the how the partnership is going.
Yeah, like one party definitely thinks they're doing great, and then the other is like, whoa there, we're actually not satisfied with how things are going. Um, and then Gabriella said in the chat, different expectations in terms of consistency and the type of communication. Isha says it seems like a one-sided relationship because the director of partnerships is sharing the partner's news, but the chapter is not sharing what they do with the partner. Natalie says there's no direct communication between the partner and the chapter members. So yeah, there's definitely a miscommunication there. Based on the responses that I'm seeing, it definitely seems like, okay, communication is the big one, or a miscommunication rather. And so how would we suggest addressing the communication barrier if that's the main challenge or the main issue contributing to the challenge that they're facing?
I would say like try to get to know the other person more and also like introduce other like leadership members and also at the end of each meeting maybe communicate like how do you think this meeting went with the other person just so that you guys are on the same page.
Yeah. We also have a chat um, saying that maybe they could look at how grow programming could not just be project based, but also relationship building focused. Um, Gabriella says having an honest and open conversation with the partner about what can be improved and then trying to implement new communication norms. There's another sentiment saying that they could do something like a pen pal project for relationship building. Um, not sure if there's a standard across the network or something, but having a yearly check-in whenever a new e-board transitions with the partner to say what are the good and bad things you see going on right now with the partnership. Is there any other thought? Are there any other thoughts um, about this challenge or any advice we would give the chapter?
Maybe get feedback from members about how they feel about the chapter relationship. Maybe they can give some insight too.
Yeah, that's a super important point. Are we good to move to the next challenge, or are there any remaining thoughts we want to sit with and reflect on? Okay, that was really good. Here's the second challenge. A chapter reaches out to their coach because they feel uncomfortable with the lack of communication from their partner. The director of partnerships shares that they haven't heard from their partner contact in 3 months, and they feel that the chapter as a whole should pause campaigning and fundraising until they hear back from their partner. Additionally, the director of partnership feels that if there's no response for another month, they should repartner with another organization. And the chapter coach advises the students to be patient as headquarters tries to connect with the partner as well. So the questions that are listed under this challenge that a chapter is facing includes what are some major considerations to make in this scenario? What is / are the root problems of this issue? What actions can be taken at the current stage? And what actions could have been taken earlier to prevent the issue? So wherever you want to start, go ahead. If you need to sit with the challenge for a little bit, that's okay too. But when you're ready to share your thoughts or reflections, go ahead and do that in the way that works for you. Okay, something came through the chat. Someone says maybe they should consider things like what could be going on in the partner's country. So issues with Wi-Fi or connectivity, political issues, etc. They have experienced in their chapter decreased communication from their partner because sometimes their country goes into full lockdown. We're still in a pandemic, and it looks different in every country around the world. So to be mindful of that. And then Gabriella shares that a major consideration would be if something happened politically or legislatively in their country, which would inhibit them from communication with you or the chapter. And then another point made was that they should also make sure everyone has the same communication expectations from the start. That would have been good. How do we feel about the director of partnerships in this scenario asking their chapter coach to repartner altogether if there's no communication for another month? How does that sit with everyone? Okay, so something came through the chat that says, it seems harsh and disrespectful. It doesn't take into consideration why the partner is unable to communicate. Natalie says that they understand what that they might be feeling since there has been no contact for 4 months. The director of partnerships probably feels frustrated. Something else that came through the chat back on like setting norms is what to do if communication slows down or is not coming in how people would expect. So like a backup plan. And if the partner, like for example, if the partner of the chapter doesn't hear back from the other entity for a while, asking why that might be and how could each party respond in a helpful way, that would be good to consider as well. Yeah, these are really good reflections. So I'm glad that it came through the chat or like it's translating for you guys that to sever or end an entire partnership that takes so much relationship building and energy and effort after 4 months of no communication feels pretty abrupt. Like, I'm glad that's what came through because that is the reality of the situation. We know there's so many things going on in the world that holding a whole partner, an entire grassroots organization that operates and functions way outside the scope of GlobeMed. Like GlobeMed is usually not the only partnership these organizations have, and there's so much work that goes on at these sites anyway. So whether it was a political lockdown, a pandemic based lockdown, or anything that would prevent a partner from communicating in the way that a student prefers or that seems normal to us, maybe in the United States or something, like definitely an unfair standard to place on a partner. I'm going to read more things that came to me from the chat. Yeah, this sounds especially harsh when these are supposed to be long-term partnerships. So going back to that relationship building aspect, are there any other thoughts or reflections? Okay, before moving on to the next one, I actually just looked at the chat again, and there's something I want to go back to because that's important too. So the message that says, Natalie said it, I understand what they might be feeling since there's been no contact for 4 months. The director probably feels frustrated. That's valid too. because at the end of the day, you guys are still undergrad students, and I know we just talked about professionalism, but like this is a skill. These are skills that you're trying to grow into and be more comfortable with. And if you're already comfortable with email communication, something like full on no communication from a partner, which is like a big responsibility to be part of that relationship, is 50-50. And so when that isn't reciprocated for a long time, that can definitely be stressful. And it can feel like the value in the partnership is one-sided. And so you're right, at some point, the director probably did feel super frustrated and super ready to just repartner, especially when we see other chapters in the network do it from time to time, like partnerships just end naturally, and that's the goal. Because sustainability is the goal. If a partner can get to a sustainable place, we've done our job, we're done, and it's time to repartner. And so when we see other chapters do it, it's a possible thing, but maintaining a relationship that's one-sided, that seems like the impossible. And so, okay, third and final challenge is that a chapter has adjusted fairly well to the challenges posed by the COVID-19 pandemic. They continue to have weekly meetings, GHUs, and online/virtual fundraising campaigns. And despite all of their best efforts, this chapter has unfortunately not been able to meet their fundraising goal that's listed in their AAF. The chapter knows that the partner relies on this fundraising for their organization's projects, and the students are anxious that this news will upset their partner. And so our questions for this challenge are: what actions can be taken at the current stage of the issue? How would you approach a conversation with the partner about this challenge? And what are some fundraising or campaign pieces of advice that you would suggest to this chapter for future preparedness? Okay, Gabriella said in the chat that a piece of advice would be to be honest and tell them that you're worried about it, but that you're trying your best to rectify the situation. That is a good piece of advice, because honesty is the best policy with partners. Sometimes they're oceans and continents away, so like they don't know what's going on all the time, and to tell them sooner rather than later what's going on would probably be the best thing to do, just so that they themselves could prepare for those projects and find backup plans. So thank you, Gabriella. Okay, Ingrid also put in the chat that if the chapter truly has done all they can do to meet their fundraising goal, then perhaps adjust future fundraising goals to reflect what's feasible and prevent partner expectations from being set too high. And then Gabriella also adds that maybe collabs and collaborations with other clubs on campus that are better at fundraising um, might be helpful as a piece of advice, that, you know, co-campaigns or joint campaigns with other orgs on campus, that could be super fun. And it could also help meet that fundraising goal. That's a really good one. And then, yeah, Ingrid, like setting reasonable expectations so that partners aren't disappointed multiple times. And who knows, maybe they might not even be super disappointed. Maybe that's just an assumption students feel. Another thing that came through the chat was that fundraising or collaborating throughout the GlobeMed network, so those joint or collaborative campaigns or fundraisers to help one partner. So where I can like logically see this working is that if one chapter is on track to meet their fundraising goal and they're not facing any challenges, they might be able to support another chapter who is having this problem of not meeting their fundraising goal, and putting in that collaborative effort. I love that. Are there any like takeaways or reflections, or is something like resonating? Does this has this ever happened at your chapter? Or yeah, Gabriella, being upfront and honest is so important. Yeah. Okay. Are there any final reflections, takeaways, points, or things for me to read? Yeah, Natalie shares in the chat that another suggestion that could be good is to reach out to other GlobeMed chapters who did well with fundraising or have an older partnership. Natalie's partner is still very new, and so we're hoping to really grow with this partner in the upcoming school year. So that's really good. Okay. But yeah, thank you guys for letting me talk your ear off. Oh my goodness. I've been rambling this whole time. Like I said before, I really, really appreciate you guys. And I hope you have an amazing day. Again, let me know if you have any questions or if you need any help with anything. And other than that, you guys are free to go. Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Sarah.